The phone vibrated in Sarah Chun's frozen hand. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. Another bill collector. Another threat. But something made her answer. Hello? Her voice cracked from exhaustion. Is this Sarah Chun? Who's asking? She pulled 8-year-old Emma closer as wind cut through their thin jackets. My name is Jonathan Pierce. I represent the estate of Eleanor Hayes. Miss Chun, you've inherited $50 million. Sarah laughed bitterly. Standing on a highway shoulder with 2 homeless children, this had to be the cruelest joke yet. Very funny. Who put you up to this? I assure you, this is not a joke. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. She hung up. $50 million. Right. And tomorrow she'd sprout wings and fly. 3 months earlier, Sarah had stood in their kitchen, watching her breath fog in the cold air. The power had been off for 2 days. February had transformed their house into an icebox. Emma sat at the table, drawing by weak lantern light. Baby Liam slept in a laundry basket, bundled in every blanket they owned. Can I color your hair purple in my picture, Mommy? Sarah smiled despite everything. You can make it rainbow if you want, sweet girl. The front door slammed. Marcus's heavy footsteps echoed down the hall. No greeting. Never a good sign. Where's dinner? Heating up beans. The power's still out. Called the power company today. Know what they said? Bill's 3 months past due. His voice rose with each word. I've been waiting for your paycheck. Marcus threw his keys against the wall. Got fired. That bastard Donovan said I was late too many times. Emma hunched smaller over her drawing, trying to disappear into herself. I'm sorry, Sarah said automatically. Sorry doesn't pay bills. Marcus stalked to the refrigerator, yanked it open, then slammed it shut when he remembered there was no power, no light, nothing inside worth taking. What's for dinner besides beans? Crackers. I can make them into little pizzas for Emma. Perfect. He grabbed Emma's drawing. What's this garbage? It's us, as a family. Emma's small voice trembled. Let me see that. He snatched it from her hands. This what you think of me? He pointed to a stick figure with angry eyes. What do you tell her about me? The paper crumpled in his fist. He threw it at the wall. This is what I come home to? A freezing house, no food, and my kid drawing me like some monster? Liam began crying from his basket. The sound pushed Marcus over the edge. He grabbed a mug from the counter and hurled it against the wall. It shattered inches from Emma's head. Emma didn't scream, didn't cry, just stared at the broken pieces with a resignation no 8-year-old should possess. Something broke inside Sarah, too. I'm taking the kids to my mother's, she said quietly. Her mother had been dead for 3 years, but Marcus didn't need to know that. Fine. Run to Mommy. You'll be back. Marcus stormed out. The front door slammed so hard, a picture fell from the wall. Sarah moved quickly. Emma, get your backpack. The purple one. Pack your favorite book and 2 changes of clothes. Are we really going to Grandma's? No, sweetheart. We're going on an adventure. While Emma packed, Sarah gathered what she could. Formula, diapers, wipes, the baby carrier, granola bars, her phone charger, Emma's sketch pad and colored pencils. Her fingers brushed something in the back of the drawer. Her grandmother's silver pendant. She slipped it into her pocket. She lifted Liam from his basket and strapped him to her chest. Helped Emma with her backpack. What about your things, Mommy? I have everything I need right here. They slipped out the back door just as rain began to fall. By nightfall, they had reached downtown. The rain had soaked through their coats. Liam fussed against Sarah's chest. They found shelter in a 24-hour laundromat. The warmth hit them like a blessing. Can we stay here forever? Emma asked. Just for tonight, baby. Tomorrow we'll figure things out. Sarah changed Liam on a plastic chair, fed him a bottle, and settled both children on a bench. Once they were asleep, she retreated behind a row of dryers. Only then did she let herself cry. Silent, body-racking sobs that no one could hear over the tumbling machines. This was just the beginning. She had $237, 2 children, and absolutely nowhere to go. Morning came harsh and bright. The laundromat attendant eyed them with a mixture of pity and concern. "You can't sleep here," he said, not unkindly. "The manager will have my job." "We're just leaving," Sarah assured him. "Thank you for not calling the police." Outside, the reality hit Sarah with full force. No home, no plan. Just 2 children depending on her and $237 that wouldn't last a week. First stop, the city's family shelter on 8th Street. Sarah had passed it many times, never imagining she'd need its services. "I need a place for myself and my children," she told the intake worker. "Any ID? Social security cards for you and the children? Birth certificates?" "No, we left in a hurry." "Running from domestic violence?" The worker's voice softened. Sarah nodded, her throat tight. "I'm sorry, but we need documentation to process you. It's policy. You might try Sacred Heart on Wilson Avenue. They sometimes make exceptions." 3 more shelters. 3 more rejections. By afternoon, they had walked miles, and Sarah's arms ached from carrying Liam. "I'm hungry, Mommy," Emma said quietly. "I know, sweetheart. Let's find something to eat." They stopped at a fast food restaurant. Sarah ordered the cheapest meal on the menu and split it between herself and Emma, saving a few fries for later. Liam at least had formula. As they sat in a booth, Sarah noticed Emma's shoes. They were too small, the sides splitting where her growing feet pressed against the fabric. "Do they hurt?" "Only when we walk a lot." "We'll find you new ones soon." The promise felt hollow. Night approached again. They rode buses back and forth across the city, staying warm, staying awake. Emma fell asleep against Sarah's arm. Liam mercifully slept too. Sarah's eyes burned with exhaustion, but she forced herself to remain alert. The city transformed at night, shadows taking on menacing shapes. On their 3rd circuit, a woman sat down beside Sarah. She was perhaps in her late 30s, with weathered features and knowing eyes. "First night?" the woman asked. "Excuse me?" "On the street." "I can tell." She gestured to Sarah's backpack, her sleeping children. "You don't have the look yet." "What look?" "The one that says you've accepted this." She extended a hand. "I'm Diana." Cautiously, Sarah shook it. "Sarah. And this is Emma and Liam. You need a safer place than this bus. Driver's notice. Routes End. You need options. I've tried the shelters." "Let me guess. No ID, no documents?" Diana nodded knowingly. "The system's broken that way. Catch-20-2. Can't get help without papers. Can't get papers without an address." Diana reached into her pocket and pulled out a wrinkled flyer. "Street Marks runs a warming station when it drops below 40 degrees. No questions asked. It's not ideal, but it's better than here. Thank you." Sarah took the flyer, tears threatening. "One more thing," Diana said, standing. "Whatever you do, keep those kids in school if you can. CPS gets involved quickly once they're flagged for attendance." The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of survival. They stayed at Street Marks when the temperature dropped, huddled in 24-hour establishments when it didn't. Sarah learned the rhythms of street life. Which libraries had the cleanest bathrooms? Which food banks gave the most substantial packages? Which police officers looked the other way? Her cash dwindled. Emma missed school. And then Liam developed a persistent cough. One night, when Street Marks was full, they found themselves at Sacred Heart Church. The shelter portion was closed, but the chapel remained open for evening prayer. They slipped inside, finding a pew in the back. The warmth and quiet felt like heaven. "Can I draw?" Emma whispered. "Of course, baby." As Emma sketched, an elderly volunteer approached. "The service is over, dear. We're closing soon." "Please." Sarah said softly. Just a little longer. It's so cold outside. The woman hesitated, glancing at Liam. The chapel closes at 9, but the restrooms in the back hall stay unlocked. It was the closest thing to kindness they'd encountered in days. When the chapel emptied, Sarah led Emma to the women's restroom. It was small but clean, with a changing table and a heater vent that pumped blessed warmth. We'll stay here tonight, she told Emma. But we have to be very quiet. Like hide and seek? They made a nest of paper towels on the floor. Sarah used her backpack as a pillow for Emma and cradled Liam against her chest. For the first time in days, they slept soundly. Until the door banged open at 6 a.m. A custodian stared at them in shock. You can't be here. We're just leaving. I'm so sorry. Wait here. He returned with a parish administrator, a stern-faced woman named Father Bennett, who crossed his arms as he surveyed the scene. This is a house of worship, not a hotel, he said coldly. We have proper channels for assistance. I tried those channels, Sarah said, her voice steady despite her fear. No beds. No room. No exceptions. Nevertheless, you can't stay here. It's against policy. Father Bennett's gaze flickered to Emma. There are rules. Please, Sarah began, but he held up his hand. I'm sorry, but you'll have to leave now. The custodian slipped Emma a breakfast bar as they were escorted out. Where are we going now, Mommy? Emma asked. Sarah had no answer. 3 days later, everything changed. They had found shelter in the laundromat again, the same attendant turning a blind eye after his supervisor left. Sarah woke to Liam's labored breathing. His small body burned against hers like a furnace. Liam! Panic shot through her veins. She pressed a hand to his forehead. It was like touching a hot stove. The laundromat attendant approached. Everything okay? My baby, he's burning up. Sarah's voice cracked. Do you have a thermometer? Any medicine? There's an urgent care 3 blocks east. Opens at 7. Sarah checked her phone. 3 a.m. more than 3 hours to wait. Liam can't wait that long, she whispered, gathering their belongings with shaking hands. Where are we going? Emma asked, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Nico's sick. We need to find help. Now. Outside, the late March night was unseasonably cold. Sarah wrapped Liam in her own scarf, tucking him securely against her chest. His breathing came in rapid, shallow pants. Can you walk, Emma? We need to hurry. They set off toward the hospital instead of the urgent care. Liam needed help immediately. The emergency room was fluorescent bright and half full despite the hour. Sarah approached the intake desk, Liam whimpering against her. My baby is sick. He's burning up. Please help him. Insurance card and ID, please. We don't have insurance, but he's really sick. Desperation crept into Sarah's voice. Please. We need some form of payment or insurance, ma'am. It's policy. You can try the county clinic. They open at 8. We can't wait until 8. Sarah's control slipped. He's 7 months old with a dangerous fever. Please, I'm begging you. The nurse's expression softened slightly. Let me get the triage nurse to at least check him. The triage nurse confirmed what Sarah already knew. Liam had a dangerously high fever. But without insurance, the hospital would only stabilize him, not admit him. He needs antibiotics, the nurse explained. But I can't prescribe them. You'll need to see a doctor at the clinic. They left with nothing but instructions to keep Liam hydrated. Sarah walked to the county clinic to wait outside its locked doors in the pre-dawn chill. Emma sat on the concrete, leaning against her legs. She hadn't complained once. Is Liam going to be okay? She asked softly. Yes, Sarah said firmly, praying she wasn't lying. I promise. They waited for hours. When the clinic finally opened, they were first in line. The wait inside was another 2 hours. By then, Sarah had been awake for more than 24 hours straight. Emma had fallen asleep against her arm. Liam's fever seemed to have risen even higher. When they finally saw a doctor, a young woman with kind eyes named Dr. Kim, the diagnosis came quickly. Ear infection, turning into pneumonia. He needs antibiotics immediately. I don't have insurance, Sarah admitted. Or much money. Dr. Kim paused, then reached into her desk and pulled out a sample pack. This will get you started for the first day. The pharmacy next door has a discount program. I'll mark this as urgent. Sarah almost wept with gratitude. With the prescription filled using the last of her cash, they made their way to the public library. Liam had taken his first dose of medicine, but still felt frighteningly hot. The children's librarian, an older woman with silver-rimmed glasses named Miss Rivera, noticed them immediately. Is everything all right, dear? Your little one seems under the weather. He has an ear infection. The doctor gave him medicine. He'll be okay. There's a family room behind the reference desk for nursing mothers. It has a rocking chair and a little more privacy. You're welcome to use it. The family room was barely bigger than a closet, but it had a rocking chair, a changing table, and a door that closed. Sarah settled Emma on a cushion in the corner with a picture book, then sat in the rocker with Liam, gently swaying. Exhaustion claimed her. Despite her best efforts, her eyes closed. She woke to Maya's frightened voice. Mommy! Mommy! Wake up! Sarah jolted upright. What's wrong, baby? You wouldn't wake up. I kept calling you. Tears filled Emma's eyes. I'm so sorry. I was just very tired. Sarah pulled her daughter close. Is Liam okay? She looked down at her son. His breathing seemed easier, his skin not quite as hot. The door opened and Ms. Rivera peered in. Everything all right? It's almost closing time. Yes, thank you. We're just... Sarah stood too quickly. The room spun violently. She clutched Liam tighter as her knees buckled and she sank to the floor. Mommy! Emma cried. Ms. Rivera rushed forward, carefully taking Liam from Sarah's arms. I'm calling an ambulance. No, please. Sarah protested weakly. No money for an ambulance, ... Everything went black. She awoke to fluorescent lights and the beep of monitors. A hospital room. My children, she gasped. They're fine, a nurse assured her. Your daughter is with Child Protective Services, and your son is in pediatrics getting his antibiotics. The words, Child Protective Services, sent ice through Sarah's veins. No, you don't understand. It's standard procedure when a parent collapses in public with Myers, the nurse explained. They're not taking your children. They just need to ensure their safety while you recover. Recover from what? Extreme dehydration and exhaustion. When's the last time you ate or drank anything substantial? Sarah couldn't remember. That's what I thought. You're also anemic. The doctor wants to keep you overnight. I can't afford. A social worker will talk to you about that. For now, rest. The social worker came an hour later. A middle-aged woman with tired but compassionate eyes. Miss Chen, I'm Gloria Martinez from Hospital Services. We need to discuss your situation. Sarah steeled herself for judgment, for accusations of neglect. You've been homeless for how long? Almost 3 weeks. And before that, you left a domestic violence situation? Sarah nodded. Gloria sighed heavily. The system fails the people who need it most. She looked up from her clipboard. I'm going to help you navigate this. We can get emergency housing for you and your children. It won't be ideal, but it's a start. What about my children now? When can I see them? The CPS worker will bring them by in the morning. Your son is doing well. The antibiotics are working. Gloria hesitated. There's something else. Someone posted about your situation on social media. The librarian, I believe. It's generated quite a response. She showed Sarah her phone. On the screen was a post from the Silver Ridge Public Library. Today, a young mother collapsed in our family room from exhaustion while caring for her sick infant and child. They've been homeless for weeks after fleeing domestic violence. Our systems continue to fail the most vulnerable. She's at Memorial Hospital now. Please keep her in your thoughts. The post had thousands of shares and comments. People want to donate, Gloria said quietly, to help you. Sarah stared at the screen, unable to process this sudden flood of kindness from strangers. Everything was about to change. But she didn't know just how much. The next morning, a CPS worker brought Emma and Liam to Sarah's hospital room. Emma ran to the bed, climbing up to hug her mother tightly. "I was so scared, Mommy." "I know, baby. I'm so sorry." Sarah breathed in her daughter's scent, tears flowing freely. "I'm okay now." Liam, looking markedly better, reached for her from the worker's arms. Sarah took him, kissing his forehead. His skin was cool. The fever had broken. "Thank God," she whispered. "I want to be clear," the CPS worker said. "We're not seeking to separate you from your children. We understand your situation. But we do need to ensure they have safe, stable housing." "I understand," Sarah said. "Gloria tells me you're being placed in emergency housing?" "Yes, for 2 weeks." "Good. I'll be checking in regularly. My name is Renee, by the way." Later that day, Sarah was discharged. Gloria drove them to a small efficiency apartment managed by a nonprofit. It had one room, a tiny kitchenette, and a bathroom. But it was clean, warm, and most importantly, theirs for the next 2 weeks. "All the donations are here," Gloria said, gesturing to several boxes stacked in the corner. Inside were gift cards, clothes, supplies. New shoes for Emma, clothes for Liam, personal care items Sarah had been doing without, gift cards to grocery stores and restaurants, totaling over $1,000. "People are good," Gloria said, watching Sarah's overwhelmed expression. After Gloria left, Sarah sat on the edge of the bed, watching Emma explore their temporary home with wonder. "Can we stay here forever?" Emma asked. "Not forever, baby, but for now. And something better will come along." That night, clean and fed, they slept without fear for the first time in weeks. The next morning, while Emma drew at the small table and Liam napped, Sarah's phone rang. Unknown number. Her pulse quickened. She answered cautiously. "Hello? Is this Sarah Chen?" A man's formal, professional voice. "Yes. Who's calling?" "My name is Jonathan Pierce. I'm an attorney with Blackwell and Associates. I've been trying to reach you for some time. It's regarding the estate of Eleanor Hayes." "I don't know any Eleanor Hayes," Sarah said, confused. Nevertheless, she knew you. Ms. Hayes passed away 6 weeks ago, and her will specifically names you as her primary beneficiary. There must be a mistake." "No mistake, Miss Chen. I've been attempting to locate you since Miss Hayes' passing. Your recent publicity made it possible." Sarah's mind raced back to the social media post, the news coverage of her collapse. "I don't understand. What exactly did this woman leave me?" Ms. Hayes' estate is valued at approximately $50 million. Assets include real estate, investment portfolios, and liquid capital, all of which, according to her explicit wishes, now belong to you. Sarah laughed, a sound of pure disbelief. "This is a joke, right? Someone put you up to this." "I assure you it is not. I'd like to meet with you as soon as possible to begin the transfer process." "Would tomorrow be convenient?" "Tomorrow?" Sarah's mind reeled. "I guess so, but I still don't." "Ms. Hayes left a letter for you. I think it will explain much of your confusion. Shall we say 10 o'clock? I can send a car if you prefer." "A car, I suppose." After hanging up, she sat perfectly still, the phone clutched in her hand. Emma looked up from her drawing. "Who was that, Mommy?" "I'm not sure," Sarah answered truthfully. "Someone who might be able to help us." The next morning, precisely at 10, a sleek black car pulled up outside the efficiency. A man in his 50s, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit, stepped out carrying a leather briefcase. Sarah opened the door before he could knock. "Miss Chen," he extended a hand. Jonathan Pierce. Sarah shook it, studying him carefully. Please come in. He stepped inside, nodding to Emma. You must be Emma. It's nice to meet you. Are you the man who called Mommy yesterday? I am indeed. He looked at Sarah. Is there somewhere we can speak privately? The efficiency had no separate rooms. Sarah settled Emma in the bathroom with her art supplies, then turned to Jonathan. Before we start, I need to know, is this real? Because if it's some kind of cruel joke, it's very real. Jonathan opened his briefcase and removed a sealed envelope. This is from Eleanor. I think you should read it first. Sarah took the envelope. Her name was written on the front in elegant cursive. She opened it with trembling fingers and began to read. Dear Sarah, by the time you read this, I will be gone from this world. You won't remember me, but I have never forgotten you. 5 years ago, on the coldest day of winter, you were working at the Moonlight Bakery on Palmer Street. I was 78 years old, recently widowed, and feeling utterly alone. I had forgotten my gloves that day. My hands were so cold, I could barely hold my cane. You noticed. You came from behind the counter, helped me to a seat, and wrapped my hands around a hot mug of tea. On the house, you insisted. When my taxi didn't arrive, you wrapped your own scarf around my neck, a lovely blue one you had knitted yourself, and walked me 3 blocks to my apartment, even though it meant you would be late returning from your break. You told me about your dreams of art school, about the children's books you hoped to illustrate someday. What you didn't know was that I had just come from my lawyer's office, where I had been preparing to change my will. My husband George was gone. We never had children, and I had no close family left. I had been planning to leave everything to various charities. But in that moment of kindness, a moment that meant nothing to you but everything to me, I found my heir. In you, I saw something rare, genuine compassion without expectation of reward. Over the years, I've kept tabs on you. I know about Marcus. I know about Emma and Liam. I've tried to help in small, anonymous ways. The scholarship offer you received but couldn't accept because Marcus wouldn't let you return to school. That was from my foundation. The Children's Book Festival that invited you to display your work, I was on the board. I had planned to reveal myself to you this spring, to offer you a proper introduction and explanation. Fate, it seems, had other plans. My health declined rapidly these past months. So now I leave you everything, with no strings attached. My lawyer, Jonathan Pierce, a good man you can trust, will help you navigate this transition. My only request, not a condition but a hope, is that you use this chance to become the person you were meant to be before life's hardships intervened. Draw again, create, show Emma that dreams can come true. With fondness and faith, Eleanor Hayes. P.S. I kept your blue scarf all these years. Jonathan will return it to you. Sarah lowered the letter, tears streaming down her face. Memories rushed back. The bakery where she'd worked before Emma was born. The elderly woman with shaking hands. The walk through snow drifts to a stately old apartment building. I remember her, she whispered. She ordered Earl Grey tea with lemon. No sugar. Jonathan nodded. He withdrew a faded blue scarf from his briefcase. She treasured this. Said it was her lucky charm. I can't believe she kept it. Sarah took the scarf, running her fingers over the familiar knit pattern. She had made it during her first pregnancy, when she still believed in simple joys. Eleanor was sentimental that way, Jonathan said, his formal demeanor softening. She spoke of you often, especially in her final months. She worried she'd waited too long to contact you. But why me? One act of kindness, it was nothing. It was everything to her. Eleanor had a difficult life before she met George. She understood struggle, and she recognized something in you that reminded her of herself. $50 million, though. It's incomprehensible. It's actually closer to 53 now. The markets have been kind. Jonathan pulled out a folder. I've prepared an overview of the assets. He laid out documents on the small table. The estate includes Eleanor's main residence in the Hudson Valley Riverside Manor. There's also a Manhattan apartment, a summer cottage in Maine, and a property in Provence. Sarah stared at the papers, unable to process the words. There are investment portfolios, art collections, and several charitable foundations you'll now control. It's too much, she finally said. I don't know the first thing about managing this kind of wealth. That's why I'm here, Jonathan reassured her. Eleanor anticipated your concerns. I've been instructed to assist you for as long as you need. We have a team of financial advisors, property managers, and household staff who've been with Eleanor for years. They're at your disposal. Household staff, Sarah repeated. 3 weeks ago, she'd been sleeping in a laundromat. Now people worked for her? When can we access the funds? For basic needs? Immediately. Jonathan produced a credit card. This is linked to Eleanor's account. The formal asset transfer will take a few weeks, but there will be no delays in providing for you and your children. Emma's voice came from the bathroom. Mommy, can I come out now? I finished all my paper. Yes, baby. Come see. Emma emerged, holding several drawings. She hesitated, looking between Sarah and Jonathan. It's okay, Sarah said, smiling through her tears. Mr. Pierce has brought us some very good news. What news? Emma asked. Sarah looked at Jonathan, unsure how to explain. He stepped in smoothly. Emma, a very kind lady named Eleanor thought your mom was so special that she wanted to give her a wonderful gift. Part of that gift is a beautiful house with lots of room for you to play and draw. Emma's eyes widened. Like in my picture? With electricity and everything. Even better, Jonathan said. It has a big garden and a special room just for art. Can we go see it? Emma asked eagerly. Tomorrow, if your mom agrees. I can send a car in the morning. Sarah nodded, still trying to wrap her mind around everything. Tomorrow. After Jonathan left, leaving the credit card, the blue scarf, and a mountain of paperwork, Sarah sat with Emma on the bed. Liam played on a blanket beside them. Are we rich now, Mommy? Emma asked. It seems like we are. Yes. Will we have to see Daddy again? The question cut through Sarah's joy like a knife. No, baby. Not if you don't want to. I don't wanna. That evening, Sarah used the credit card for the first time, ordering dinner delivery from a family restaurant nearby. The simple act felt momentous. When the food arrived, the delicious smells filling their small efficiency, Emma clapped her hands in delight. As they ate, Sarah's mind whirled with possibilities. Art school. She could finish her degree now. Emma could go to a good school, have everything she needed. Liam would never know hunger or cold. That night, she stayed awake long after the children slept, reading and rereading Eleanor's letter. Use this chance to become the person you were meant to be before life's hardships intervened. The words both inspired and terrified her. She picked up her phone and dialed Jonathan's number. Mr. Pierce? It's Sarah Chen. I've been thinking about what Eleanor wrote, about becoming who I was meant to be. Yes? There's something I need to do. Something for people like me. Like who I was 3 weeks ago. Tell me, Jonathan said. And Sarah began to explain her vision for Sacred Heart Church, the place that had turned her away in her darkest hour. The place that would become a beacon of hope for everyone who came after. The black SUV pulled up outside the efficiency apartment at precisely 10 o'clock. A composed woman in her 40s stepped out and introduced herself as Helen, the driver. Mr. Pierce sent me to take you to Riverside Manor. You're home now, Miss Chen. Sarah gathered their meager belongings. Everything they owned still fit in one backpack and a tote bag. Emma clutched her sketchbook and a donated stuffed rabbit. Liam, strapped to Sarah's chest, watched the world with curious eyes. The drive took them through the city, across the bridge, and into gradually more pastoral landscapes. Concrete gave way to trees. Crowded streets became winding roads lined with grand houses set back from view. Finally, Helen turned onto a long tree-lined drive. At the end stood Riverside Manor, a gracious estate of weathered gray stone and gleaming windows. It wasn't ostentatious, but it exuded warmth and history. "Welcome home," Helen said softly. Sarah stepped from the car, Emma's hand tight in hers. The front door opened, and a small group emerged: Jonathan and what must be the household staff. "Miss Chen, welcome to Riverside Manor." Jonathan introduced the others. "This is Mrs. Park, the housekeeper. Carlos, the groundskeeper. Sophie, the cook. And Thomas, who manages the property's day-to-day operations." All had worked for Eleanor for years. All regarded Sarah with a mixture of curiosity and kindness. "We've prepared the East Wing for you and the children," Mrs. Park said with a warm smile. "Ms. Hayes left specific instructions about your accommodations." The East Wing turned out to be a spacious suite of rooms. A master bedroom with an adjoining sitting room for Sarah, a charming room with a canopy bed for Emma, and a fully equipped nursery for Liam. Emma's room featured shelves filled with children's books, art supplies arranged on a child-sized desk, and a window seat overlooking the gardens. On the wall hung a framed illustration, a princess with Emma's dark hair and eyes. "It's me!" Emma exclaimed, running to examine it. Sarah looked closer. In the corner was a signature, Chen, 2016. Her breath caught. It was hers, an illustration she'd submitted to a small art exhibition when Emma was just a baby. Marcus had mocked it, calling it childish and worthless. "Miss Hayes attended that exhibition," Jonathan explained quietly. "She purchased this piece through an intermediary." Sarah's sitting room had been transformed into an art studio. Easels, drafting tables, supplies of every kind. Canvases of various sizes leaned against the wall. A computer setup with professional design software occupied another corner. "Eleanor believed you would want to resume your artwork," Jonathan said. "She had this set up based on your early interests." "I haven't drawn anything but doodles for Emma in years. Perhaps now is the time to start again." After the tour, they gathered in the kitchen, a warm, sunny room where Sophie had prepared lunch. Emma sat on a stool at the island counter, swinging her legs. Liam napped in a portable crib Mrs. Park had set up nearby. "There's something else you should see," Jonathan said once they'd eaten. He led them to a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a large desk at its center. Behind the desk hung a portrait of a woman in her 60s, elegant in a blue dress with kind eyes and silver hair. "Eleanor," Sarah breathed, recognizing her immediately despite the years that had passed. "Yes, painted for her 70th birthday." Jonathan moved to the desk and pressed a hidden button beneath its surface. A panel in the bookshelf slid open, revealing a hidden cabinet. Inside were dozens of files, meticulously labeled. "Eleanor kept records of her involvement in your life," Jonathan said, selecting a file and handing it to Sarah. Inside were newspaper clippings about the Moonlight Bakery, photocopies of Sarah's art school application, a program from the Children's Book Festival where her work had been displayed, and photographs taken from a distance respectful but revealing. Sarah walking Emma to preschool. Sarah outside Marcus's workplace, looking worried. Sarah at the grocery store, heavily pregnant with Liam. "She was watching me?" Sarah asked, her voice uncertain. "Not in a sinister way," Jonathan hastened to explain. "She hired a service ethically, discreetly, to keep her informed about your welfare. She worried about you, especially after she learned about Marcus." Sarah flipped through more papers. Receipts from anonymous donations to women's shelters where Sarah had sought help. A check made out to the hospital where Liam was born, covering bills Sarah didn't even know had been paid. "She was helping me all along," Sarah realized, her voice thick with emotion. Eleanor understood what it was like to feel trapped. Her own life had been difficult before she met George. She believed in ripple effects. One kindness leads to another. She hoped what she's given you would allow you to create ripples of your own. That evening, after a dinner more delicious than anything she'd eaten in years, Sarah tucked Emma into her new canopy bed. "Is this our real home now, Mommy?" Emma asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "Yes, sweetheart. This is our home. No more buses? No more laundry places?" "No more," Sarah promised, smoothing Emma's hair. "From now on, you'll have a warm bed every night." "I'm not scared anymore," Emma said softly. "What about Daddy? Will he find us?" Sarah's heart clenched. "He doesn't know where we are. And now we have people to help protect us." It was true. With Jonathan's guidance, she'd already begun the process of filing for divorce and sole custody. Money changed everything, including access to immediate legal protection. 3 days later, the peace shattered. Sarah woke to Mrs. Park, knocking urgently on her bedroom door. "Miss Chen, I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's a situation. A man at the gate claiming to be your husband. Marcus is here? Now? Security has not allowed him entry, but he's being quite insistent. Thomas has called the police." "I want to see him," Sarah said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I need to face him, on my terms this time." Mrs. Park nodded. "I'll stay with the children. They're still asleep." Sarah dressed quickly in jeans and a simple blouse clothes she'd chosen herself. She wanted to feel like herself for this confrontation. Thomas was waiting in the foyer. "The police are on their way, Miss Chen. There's no need for you to speak to him." "I need to do this, Thomas, but I won't go alone. Will you come with me to the gate?" Together, they walked down the long driveway. Through the decorative iron gates, Sarah could see Marcus pacing beside his beat-up sedan. As she approached, Marcus spotted her. His expression shifted from anger to charm so quickly it made her dizzy. The old pattern, the manipulative switch she'd once found disorienting. "Sarah, baby, thank God," he called through the gates. "I've been out of my mind with worry." "Your worry is 3 months late, Marcus. I know I messed up. I've been sober for weeks now. Got a new job, too." His eyes darted around, taking in the grandeur of the estate. "Then I hear you're living in some mansion. You hit the lottery or something? Something like that. Well, that's great, baby. Really great." His smile turned cajoling. "I just want to see my kids. That's all. Emma and Liam need their dad." "Emma is terrified of you," Sarah said calmly. "And Liam doesn't even know you. You can't keep them from me. I have rights. Rights you forfeited when you threw a mug at Emma's head. When you left us without heat or food. When you made our home a place of fear. That's a lie. I never hurt those kids. Not physically. Not yet. But they were hurting all the same. You think you're better than me now?" He gripped the iron bars of the gate. "With your big house and your fancy lawyers? I'll take you to court. I'll tell them you kidnapped my children." "You'll lose," Sarah interrupted. "I have documentation of the abuse. I have witnesses. I have Emma's testimony. And I have resources now, Marcus. The playing field isn't tilted in your favor anymore." A police cruiser appeared, turning into the driveway. 2 officers emerged, approaching cautiously. "Is there a problem here?" one asked. "This man is violating a temporary restraining order," Thomas said, producing a copy of the document Jonathan had expedited. "And trespassing on private property." Marcus released the gate, backing toward his car. "This isn't over, Sarah. You can't hide behind money forever." "I'm not hiding," she replied, standing tall. "For the first time, I'm standing exactly where I'm supposed to be." Back at the house, Emma was awake and anxious, clearly having overheard something. "Was Daddy here?" she asked, her voice small. "He was at the gate," Sarah answered honestly. "But he's gone now, and he won't be coming back. Promise?" "I promise, sweetheart." Sarah called Jonathan immediately, relaying the confrontation. He promised to expedite the permanent restraining order and move forward aggressively with the divorce and custody proceedings. In the meantime, he advised, consider a more formal security presence. just as a precaution. Sarah agreed, though the idea of bodyguards felt alien, another surreal element of her transformed life. That evening, after the children were asleep, Sarah retreated to her studio. The confrontation with Marcus had left her oddly energized rather than frightened. She picked up a charcoal pencil and began to sketch. Not Marcus, not the gate, but herself as she'd been in that moment, standing tall, unafraid, resolute. As she worked, her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Is this Sarah Chen?" A woman's voice, vaguely familiar. "Yes. Who's calling?" "It's Diana, from the bus. I don't know if you remember me, but of course I remember you. You helped us when no one else would." "Yeah. Well, double quote." Diana sounded embarrassed. "Listen, I saw you on the news. The whole inheritance thing. That's quite a story. You have no idea. Your lawyer, Jonathan Pierce, he tracked me down. Said you might want to talk to me about some project you're planning?" Sarah smiled. "I'm buying Sacred Heart Church, the one that kicked us out that night. I'm turning it into a proper shelter. No ID required. No turning people away in the cold." There was a pause on the line. Wow. That's something else. "I need help, though. Someone who knows what it's really like out there. Someone who can help design a program that actually works for people in crisis." "And you thought of me?" Diana sounded incredulous. "I'm no social worker, Sarah. I'm just a survivor?" Sarah finished for her. "Like me. But you know more about street life than I ever did. You had strategies, knowledge. You helped people. I just got by. You did more than that. You taught me where to find safe places. You warned me about CPS and attendance. You gave me that flyer for street marks." Sarah paused. "I need someone like you to help make this shelter work. Would you at least consider it? Come visit Riverside Manor. See what we're planning." "Okay," Diana said finally. "I'll come. But no promises about anything more. That's all I'm asking." After hanging up, Sarah returned to her drawing, adding the final touches. She was sketching not just herself, but a vision, women and children walking through doors that would always be open, into warmth and safety and hope. 6 months ago, she'd had nothing. Now, she had everything. And she was going to use it to make sure no one else had to sleep in a laundromat bathroom, clutching their children and praying for dawn. The next morning, Mrs. Park knocked on her door with news. "There's a call for you, Miss Chen. Someone named Jessica Chen. She says she's your sister." Sarah's heart stopped. Jessica, her sister. The one she'd abandoned when Marcus had demanded she cut ties with her bad influence family. "Put her through," Sarah said, her hands trembling. "Sarah?" The voice on the phone was older, but unmistakably Jessica's. "Is it really you?" "Jess," Sarah whispered, tears already falling. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. I saw what happened. I've been trying to find you for years, but you disappeared. And then I saw you on the news. Can you come here, please? I want to see you. I want you to meet Emma and Liam. I'm already packing," Jessica said, her voice breaking. "I'll be there tomorrow." Sarah hung up and looked around her beautiful room, at the life she was building from the ashes of her old one. Tomorrow, her sister would arrive. Diana would come to discuss the shelter. The divorce would be finalized. And slowly, piece by piece, she would become whole again. Eleanor had given her more than money. She'd given her the chance to become the person she was always meant to be. And Sarah wasn't going to waste it. 6 months had passed since that rainy night when Sarah fled Marcus's house with nothing but a backpack and desperate hope. 6 months since she'd answered a call from an unknown number and found her life irrevocably altered. Emma now attended the local private school, thriving in an environment that nurtured her artistic talents. Liam had celebrated his first birthday with a small party in the garden, taking his first wobbly steps toward Carlos, who'd become a grandfatherly figure to both children. Sarah herself had established routines that balanced her new responsibilities with moments of joy and creativity. Mornings were for business calls with Jonathan about estate management and meetings about the Hayes House project. Afternoons belonged to her children. Evenings, once the children were asleep, were for drawing and quietly contemplating the strange journey that had brought her here. Today, however, was special. Today was the grand opening of Hayes House. "Are you ready?" Diana asked, joining Sarah at the breakfast table. In the months since their reconnection, Diana had become a fixture at Riverside Manor, initially as a consultant for Hayes House, then as its designated program director, and now as something like family. "As ready as I'll ever be," Sarah replied. "Is the press really necessary?" It was Jonathan's idea, and he's usually right about these things. Besides, publicity means donations, and donations mean more services we can provide. I know, Sarah sighed. "I just hate being in the spotlight," says the woman who's being featured in next month's issue of Philanthropy Today, Diana teased. "But you know how many women have reached out after seeing you on that morning show? Women in situations like yours who didn't believe escape was possible. You're making a difference just by being visible." Sarah nodded, accepting the truth in Diana's words. "What time is Jessica arriving?" Diana asked. "Our flight gets in at noon. Thomas is picking her up from the airport." Jessica. After months of hesitation, Sarah had finally contacted her sister. A tentative email had led to tearful phone calls, mutual apologies, and eventually an invitation to visit. Today would be their first face-to-face reunion in nearly a decade. Nervous? Diana intuited. Terrified, Sarah admitted. What if it's awkward? What if too much time has passed? She's your sister. And from what you've told me, she tried to help you for years before Marcus isolated you completely. Give her some credit. Mrs. Park entered with her iPad. The contractors at Sacred Heart are requesting a final decision on the children's area layout, and the PR team sent over the press release for your approval. I'll call the contractors after breakfast, Sarah promised. I've got the press release, Diana said. I'll make sure they don't paint you as Saint Sarah of the checkbook. Mrs. Park smiled at their banter. And don't forget, the car leaves for the opening ceremony at 1 o'clock. After breakfast, Sarah retreated to her studio to center herself. The space had evolved over the months, becoming truly hers. Drawings covered the walls, some framed, others pinned up in various stages of completion. An easel stood by the window, holding her current project. Illustrations for a children's book about a family of birds building a new nest after a storm. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Emma stood in the doorway, already dressed for the ceremony in a purple dress she'd selected herself. Mommy, can I ask you something? Of course, sweet girl. Come in. Is Hayes House going to be like the places we stayed when we were before? In some ways. It will help people who don't have homes, like we didn't, but it's going to be better than those places. Warmer, safer, more welcoming. Will there be other kids there? Like me? Yes, lots of children. That's why we made the special playroom and the homework space. Emma's face brightened. Can I give them my old books? The ones I've outgrown? So they have stories too? That's a wonderful idea, baby. We can put together a donation box when we get home. Nico's calling for you, Emma said with a grin. He figured out how to climb out of his crib. What? Why didn't you start with that? Indeed, Liam's insistent calls echoed down the hallway. Sarah hurried to the nursery, where she found Mrs. Park attempting to dress a squirming, protesting Liam in his formal clothes. There's Mama, Mrs. Park said with relief. Perhaps you can convince him the bow ties are not instruments of torture. Sarah laughed, taking her son. Come here, little escape artist. Mama, no tie. Liam pulled at the offending item around his neck. Just for a little while, baby boy. for the special party. Then we can take it off." An hour later, the sound of tires on gravel announced the car's arrival. Sarah's heart raced. "She's here," Emma said excitedly. "My real aunt." The front door opened and Thomas entered, followed by a woman with Sarah's eyes and their mother's confident stride. "Jess," Sarah whispered, frozen for a moment. Jessica set down her bag and crossed the foyer in 3 quick steps. "Lee," she said, using the childhood nickname no one had spoken in years. Then they were embracing, both crying, years of absence collapsing into nothing. "I'm so sorry," Sarah murmured. "I should have listened. I should have left him when you told me to." Jessica pulled back, wiping Sarah's tears. "You're here now. You got out. That's all that matters." She turned to the children, crouching to Emma's level. "You must be Emma. You look just like your mom did at your age." "I've seen your picture," Emma said shyly, "in Mom's jewelry box. And this handsome man must be Liam." Jessica smiled at the toddler, who regarded her with solemn curiosity. "I brought presents for both of you, but they'll have to wait until after the big ceremony." "You'll come with us?" Sarah asked. "Wild horses couldn't keep me away." Jessica squeezed Sarah's hand. An hour later, they arrived at Hayes House. The transformation of Sacred Heart Church was stunning. The Gothic exterior remained, but the once forbidding facade now featured a welcoming entrance plaza with benches and planters. A crowd had gathered: local officials, donors, media, and a handful of future residents, the first beneficiaries of Hayes House's services. Diana had insisted on including them, arguing that they shouldn't be mere recipients of charity, but honored guests at the launch of a community resource. Jonathan met them at the entrance. "Everything is ready. The mayor is here, and the bishop sent a representative. The press is behaving themselves so far, and the special installation? Completed this morning. It's perfect." The special installation was Sarah's tribute to Eleanor, a commissioned stained glass window for the main hall depicting a young woman wrapping a blue scarf around an elderly woman's shoulders. Inside, the ceremony proceeded with dignified efficiency. Mayor Richardson spoke about community responsibility. The bishop's representative offered a blessing. Diana outlined the services Hayes House would provide. Finally, it was Sarah's turn to speak. She took a deep breath and began. "6 months ago, I stood outside this building in the rain, holding my baby son, my daughter's hand clasped in mine. We had nowhere to go. The shelter system had failed us. This church, though well-intentioned, had policies that prevented them from helping us in our moment of greatest need." She paused, gathering strength. "I don't share this to criticize. I share it because my story is not unique. Every night in this city, parents make impossible choices about where their children will sleep. Every day, people fall through gaps in systems designed to help them. Hayes House exists to fill those gaps. No one will be turned away for lack of ID. No family will be separated. No arbitrary time limits will push people back to the streets before they're ready." She turned to the stained glass tribute to Eleanor. This project was made possible by an extraordinary act of generosity from Eleanor Hayes, a woman who understood that kindness, even in small measures, can change lives. I was fortunate to be the recipient of her generosity. But Hayes House isn't about luck or charity. It's about creating systems that work, policies that serve, communities that care. Sarah looked directly at the cameras. "To anyone watching who feels trapped, who sees no way forward, there is hope. To anyone with the means to help, there is work to be done. And to anyone who has ever been shown kindness in a dark moment, there is power in passing it on." She stepped back to enthusiastic applause. As she returned to her seat, Diana squeezed her hand, whispering, "Eleanor would be proud." The formal ribbon cutting followed, with Emma given the honor of wielding the oversized scissors. The crowd dispersed for tours of the facility, journalists trailing Diana as she explained the innovative features. Sarah found herself beside the stained glass tribute, admiring how the afternoon light transformed the colors. A woman approached one of the future residents, a mother perhaps a few years younger than Sarah, with a toddler clutching her hand. "Miss Chen," the woman said hesitantly, "I just wanted to say thank you. My daughter and we've been staying in my car for 3 months. The other shelters either had waiting lists or wouldn't take us because I lost my ID. You're welcome here," Sarah said simply, "for as long as you need. They told me you've been where I am, that you understand. I have, and I do." Sarah looked down at the woman's daughter, who stared up at the colorful stained glass in wonder. "What's your little one's name?" "Hope," the woman replied. Something about that simple statement, the name, the timing, the parallel to her own journey struck Sarah deeply. "Hope is perfect here," she said, meaning far more than the name. Later, as the event wound down, Sarah found a quiet moment with Jessica in the garden behind the building, once a neglected churchyard, now a peaceful green space with benches and a small playground. "You've created something extraordinary, Lee," Jessica said, watching Emma push Liam on a toddler swing. "I had help, yes, but not everyone would have used it this way. You could have taken that money and disappeared to a beach somewhere. No one would have blamed you after what you went through." That thought never even occurred to me, Sarah realized. From the moment I understood what Eleanor had done, I knew I wanted to continue it somehow. "Pass it on. Ripples," Jessica said softly. "That's what Mom always called it. One good deed creating ripples that spread outward." I'd forgotten that. Sarah's voice caught. "Do you think she'd be proud, Mom?" "Beyond proud. And not just of this." Jessica gestured to the building. "Of you, your strength, your heart." They watched the children play in comfortable silence. Finally, Jessica spoke again. "So what's next for Sarah Chen, philanthropist and shelter revolutionary?" "Honestly, I'm thinking about going back to school, finishing my art degree, maybe eventually illustrating children's books like I always wanted, while running a multi-million-dollar estate and a revolutionary shelter program. I'm learning to delegate," Sarah said with a smile. "Diana is brilliant at running Hayes House. Jonathan handles most of the estate management. The staff at Riverside Manor have become family." "Speaking of family," Jessica began, "I've been offered a teaching position at Hudson Valley Community College. It would mean moving here from California. You'd do that? Move across the country?" "I've missed too much already, Lee. Emma's childhood, Liam's babyhood, your transformation into this amazing woman." Jessica smiled. "Besides, the college has an excellent arts program. Maybe you could take classes there." "I'd like that," Sarah said, her heart full. As they called the children to prepare for the drive back to Riverside Manor, Sarah paused for one last look at Hayes House. In the late afternoon light, the building seemed to glow from within a beacon in the gathering dusk. One act of kindness. A blue scarf, a cup of tea, a helping hand on a cold day. That's how it started. One woman seeing another's humanity and responding with grace. Now the ripples continued, spreading outward in ways Eleanor could never have imagined, but would surely have approved. Sarah had been given shelter when she needed it most. Not just physical shelter, but the kind that nurtured dreams, that protected potential, that honored the journey from survival to purpose. "Ready to go home?" Jessica called. Emma and Liam were already racing toward the car. Home. Such a simple word for such a profound concept. Not just a house, not just safety, but belonging, connection, purpose. "Yes," Sarah answered, turning away from the building to join her family. She looked back once more at Hayes House, glowing in the sunset. Inside those walls, families would find warmth tonight. Children would sleep without fear. Mothers would begin to believe in tomorrow again. And it all started with one small act of kindness on the coldest day of winter. The ripples would continue long after Sarah was gone, touching lives she would never meet, creating new stories of hope and transformation. She had inherited $50 million. But what Elena had really given her was something far more valuable. The chance to become who she was always meant to be. And the power to help others do the same.